Hey there guys, I'm TheRoyalGorilla and today I'm going to be giving you my complete rundown of the Exo Survival game mode in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Now in Exo Survival, you go it alone or team up with up to 3 other people to survive wave after wave of enemy soldiers. As is standard with any horde-based survival mode, these enemies get tougher and survival becomes more difficult as you progress. Exo Survival can become very hard, very fast, so I decided to put together this guide to help out anyone just getting started. So, Exo Survival uses multiplayer maps as its battlegrounds, which means you have access to a fair few maps, each with their own distinct advantages and strategies. The map you choose can be very much down to your personal preference, so I won't spend too much time on this topic. But it's worth keeping in mind that if you're attempting to achieve high rounds, certain maps contain features that can end the game instantly if you're not paying attention. Now, when you initially begin, unless you're playing in online matchmaking, you have access to 4 maps: Ascend, Biolab, Retreat, and Detroit. These are the tier 1 maps and are automatically unlocked when you start playing the game. Now in order to progress to the tier 2 maps, you will need to complete 50 rounds on these maps total. Once you've completed 50 rounds, you'll have access to 4 tier 2 maps, which are Horizon, Comeback, Instinct and Terrace. Similar to unlocking tier 2, tier 3 can be unlocked by completing 75 rounds on tier 2 maps. Once you've completed these 75 rounds, you'll have access to the tier 3 maps: Green Band, Recovery, Solar and Defender. The final tier, tier 4, only consists of 1 map, Riot, and can be unlocked by completing 100 rounds on tier 3 maps. Unlocking every map took me around 9 hours and 15 minutes game time, so it takes quite a while, but with a total of 13 maps you definitely have plenty of variety. Something to keep in mind is that playing on maps that you have not yet unlocked in matchmaking does not save your score for that map and therefore does not help you in unlocking further tiers. The final point I wanted to mention about maps is that once you have unlocked all the maps, you will be given access to a bonus zombies waves on the map Riot. I've already made a full guide on how to do this, so if you want to see that, click on the link on screen now. Okay, so now that the boring stuff is out of the way, let's get into the actual gameplay and how to get the 1-up on your enemies. Exo Survival begins by letting you select one of 3 classes, which determines which weapons you will have access to and how much mobility you will have. Choosing a class can be very dependent on your playstyle, but here's my top tips for anyone trying to get to those high rounds. Playing as the light class gives you access to all of your boost abilities that you would find in standard multiplayer and the fastest run speed. Light also has access to the most flexible weapons with the submachine guns and assault rifles. UAV will be your primary score streak, but you will have less armor than the other classes. When I play, I always use the light class, simply because the extra mobility this class has is easily more beneficial in the long run than the extra armor of the other classes. The heavy is predictably the big boy of the bunch. Heavy machine guns and laser rifles make up the bulk of the heavy's arsenal, and this class comes with a ton of armor. The downside is that your mobility is severely limited. You can still double jump, but air dashing is out of the question. For its score streak, the heavy class is able to call in the Goliath exosuit. This is more useful than the light's UAV, especially when it comes to boss rounds, but once you are out of the Goliath, you are severely limited by your lack of mobility. Despite this, if you're just starting out, stick with the heavy. It's a damage dealing tank that's more about brute force than technique, so it's easier to get the hang of. The light class really can't take a lot of fire due to its low armor, but once you have your exo movement system mastered, you will then feel a lot more comfortable using the light. The specialist class is by far my least favourite. Due to the specialist only having access to sniper rifles and shotguns, you either focus on long range or raw stopping power up close. Compared to the light class, your mobility is slightly compromised, but not as drastically as the heavy. You have more armor though, so at least there's that. For its score streak, the specialist class is able to drop down a sentry gun, which when you're playing alone can lead to a very fast death. I would not recommend this class unless you are playing with a group, and I would still have second thoughts even then. The specialist is good for defense, a trait which is not all too useful in Exo Survival, which I'll explain more later. Okay, so I just wanted to add a quick side note here, which I'm actually adding in during the editing process. So this is all completely after. I've literally just came out of playing a game with the specialist as my class, because I wanted to give it a second try and also wanted the achievement. Just ignore that bit. So it's not actually as bad as I made out just a minute ago. It takes a lot, well, it's not really skill, it's just quite powerful, especially the shotgun. I'm not sure how well I do in later rounds with it. And what I say about the sentry gun being practically useless, turns out I didn't realise that it also shoots without you having to control it, which makes it very useful. So if you want to go specialist, you can do it if you want. It's quite a useful class actually. I enjoyed doing it. It's kind of different to the others. You don't necessarily have the, well, you obviously don't have the movement of the light, and you don't have the laborious movements of the heavy. But it's quite a nice little medium. It's quite fun. So if you want to try it out, you can try it out. I'm not going to hold it against you. As you complete waves, you are able to upgrade your character at stations scattered throughout the map using upgrade points you've earned. These upgrade points are crucial to your survival, so make sure you spend them wisely. It may seem like it would be a good idea to boost your score streaks, but it's generally safer to spend the points on passive upgrades to your class. The weapon proficiency upgrade that unlocks at the Exo station on wave 5 is very handy. Dropping points in proficiency increases the damage and accuracy of your weapons, whatever you have equipped, so it has long-term benefits. Armour can also be improved once you reach wave 10. This is another important stat, since it keeps you alive for longer and can remove the disadvantage that the light class has with a lack of armour. Beyond those two upgrades, it's really dependent on your playstyle. These upgrade points can also be spent on purchasing new weapons, grenades and exo abilities from the weapons station. You begin with basic weapons, and more advanced guns, grenades and abilities unlock as you progress through the rounds. What you buy is highly dependent on your playstyle, as all the weapons and abilities are identical to those in multiplayer. I found that when I play, I rarely use exo abilities, so tend to avoid spending points there. I do, however, always invest in improved grenades, such as Semtex or contact grenades, as these can become essential in later rounds, and especially boss waves. While most of the waves that you face in Exo Survival simply require that you kill all enemies while staying alive, there are also objective-based rounds to deal with. Objective rounds have you completing various tasks around the map. Many of these objectives mirror similar tasks found in Advanced Warfare's multiplayer mode. Completing these objectives and surviving the wave rewards you with upgrade points. There are 4 possible objective rounds. Defend the position. Players must defend a specific position on the map by killing 10 enemies attempting to take the position before the timer runs out. Defuse bombs. Players must defuse 3 EMP bombs which are scattered across the map. Gather dog tags. Players must gather 20 dog tags which are scattered across the map. And gather intel, which players must gather 3 pieces of intel which will be dropped randomly by enemies when they are killed. These objective rounds are extremely important to complete, especially in the higher rounds. If you fail an objective round, there are some severe forfeits that may happen. Enemy beam turrets appearing scattered throughout the map. Smoke bombs periodically detonating around the map, creating enemy concealing smoke. Enemies releasing toxic manticore spores when killed. The enemies use a system hack on players. The player's primary weapon jam for a short time, forcing them to use the Atlas 45 pistol. Enemy nanoswarm strikes periodically hit the map. When dealing with high-level enemies, these forfeits can make a real difference on how much longer you will last. For example, reaching wave 24 and having your primary weapons disabled can lead to an almost instant death. I highly recommend that you do not fail these objectives. To aid you in your quest to rid the world of futuristic super soldiers, the gods bestow supply drops on you from time to time. A blue bar located underneath the minimap indicates how close you are to your next supply drop. Once it fills, you'll be able to call in a drop. When you call in a drop, a pod will fall into your location. These pods contain score streak rewards and perks, and they can be opened by anyone on your team, so if you're playing in a public game, be aware that your supply drop could be stolen. It's very important to tailor your perk selection to your chosen class. The Heavy, for example, gets a huge boost from Unlimited Sprint, and the Weapons Free perk allows any class to use any weapon. Depending on your playstyle, you'll find which perk works best for you. Supply drops are crucial for surviving into the deeper waves, so make sure you're strategic in how and when you use them. A wasted supply drop could mean a very early end to your game. Now, I've already mentioned this a few times, but as you play, you will encounter a number of boss waves. Now, what I mean by this is that at round 10, 20 and 25, you will come into contact with enemy Goliaths. They're equipped with a minigun cannon and can also deploy a homing suicide drone. ASTs are very well armoured and can withstand about 4 to 5 full magazines of fire from most automatic weapons. This can be one of those times when a supply drop can make all the difference. If you have any kind of airstrike, it can make these waves a breeze. So try not to waste your powerful firepower when you know these bad boys are on the way. Now that's essentially all the basics covered. You should now be able to get into a game and have a fair idea of what's in store for you. But this is also a strategy video, so I'm now going to let you know all my super secret strategies on how to achieve those higher rounds. Oh, also, I forgot to mention that when you complete round 25, the game reverts to round 1 again, and the enemies become significantly harder. So yeah, have fun with that. One smidge of information before I begin is that this strategy is mainly for solo play, which is mainly due to the fact that I have no friends. This may work with more people, it may not. You can find that out for yourselves. Okay, so whenever I play, no matter what map I'm on, I always use the same strategy. Never stop moving. When I first began playing, I found myself being very static, hiding behind a wall and shooting from cover. Now, this approach works fine for the first 2 seconds of any game. One of the best things about Advanced Warfare is the AI actually understands how to flank you, which means no matter where you've set up your defense, someone's always going to come up behind and shoot you in the arse. So playing as the light class, usually with an SMG as my primary and a basic assault rifle as my secondary, I constantly keep moving, making laps of the map. Similar to how training in zombies used to work, this stops the enemies from being able to overwhelm you. As you run, you will inevitably encounter stray enemies in your path, which are very easy to quickly take out. The best perks to use whilst doing this are unlimited sprint, gung-ho and fast hands, as this allows you to literally never have to stop moving. I also advise picking up flak jacket and toughness just to make yourself that little bit more durable. When it comes to exo abilities, this isn't all that important. I find that I rarely use this. However, at late rounds, having the cloak ability can give you the time you need to heal up if you find yourself in a difficult situation. I found this technique works very well into the high waves, my highest round being 62 before I gave up. It took me 2 hours. The main advantage of this technique is that it avoids a player being surrounded by the enemy, which can and will end in your death 99% of the time. It may make the rounds last longer than simply gunning everyone down whilst you hide in a doorway, but it will ensure that the enemy is unable to effectively attack you from multiple directions. And if something does go wrong, run. You have a much higher chance of survival if you simply run than if you try to take everyone on. Oh, and one last thing. During waves with flying drones, get inside and take them out as fast as possible. They can end your game very quickly. So, there you go guys, that was my complete guide to Exo Survival in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. I hope you enjoyed the video and will be sure to drop me a like, comment and subscribe. I've been TheRoyalGorilla, over and out.
His name is Luke and he's more than your average gamer. No ordinary let's player. Know about Easter eggs much better. Da 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 da. His name is Luke, aka TheRoyalGorilla. Even bigger than the giant Godzilla. Follow him in every game he goes. Da 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 da. He's almost got everything you need, from GTA 5 to Assassin's Creed.